So I'm off to the allotment with my precious cargo. I'm a little bit nervous because in the last couple of days there's been a little bit of a nip in the air, but it is the beginning of May, and that's when I said I'd plant these out, judging by when the last frost would be. The temperatures are due to dip next week, but I'm kind of trusting and believing that they're going to raise back up. The one I'm planting courgettes, pumpkin and butternut squash, but the one thing, because of that nervousness, I'm not planting all of them. I'm planting a fair amount, but I have a backup trays of all of these in the greenhouse in case there is a frost, and then I'll plant another batch a little bit later on. So with that being said, make sure everyone's got their seatbelts on. Are you strapped in, guys? Are you all strapped in? You all strapped in back there? Yeah? Alright, we're going now. I've come to the realisation that there were lots of potatoes planted in this plot previously, because all these, and I found some over there, all these are little potatoes. When I dig up the other day, I found potatoes at the end of... Don't mess with spuds, mate, I'll tell you that. More spuds. And this is the reason I've always plant mine in tubs now rather than out, because they just great food, mind you, but they are so resilient and they spread so well. they just end up finding them everywhere. So what you have to bear in mind is this soil has had no treatment in terms of fertiliser, and it's been covered over for 7 months. So, and they've still managed to actually, I'm sure if they'd have just took over this and grown, there'd have been loads of potatoes here if I hadn't come here to farm it as such. So, everything was covered when I arrived. I've taken back the weed suppressant. These are my onions. They need a quick weed, but they're doing alright. I've just taken this cover off them because they don't look like worms anymore, so they should be fine. This is my soil. I've just started to dig this over, but again, as I said in my last video, I'm pretty happy with what's here. In terms of the lack of weeds, I do think though next year, I was speaking to someone else here who does my neighbour's method of planting through, and that's what he does as well. I do think next year that's what I'll do. I'm obviously going to plant out like this year and weed basically, but I just get the feeling I'm going to have a lot of weeding to do, which I don't know if I'll be able to keep on top of. So I think next year I'll try the other method, and I'll be able to like assess the two and see which one I carry on to. Another resilient plant is strawberries. I didn't cover it up. I did cover it up briefly, to be fair, but I've cut a hole in the weed suppressant to allow the strawberries. I need to weed this little bed, but they look like they are doing excellently compared with, I don't know if you've seen any of my previous videos, what it looked like when I took this plot over, and that's what they look like in October and November. They just die back, and then they're so resilient they come back in the next year. So this is actually, I'm so glad I kept this, because I could have got rid of this, but I think I might add a couple of strawberry plants to it actually and just keep it as my little strawberry farm. That looks like a potato in there as well, look. Looks like a potato, look, there we go. Or 2 potato plants in it. Yeah, there you go. Oh. That's more like it. Interesting thing about planting out courgettes, squash and all that sort of thing is you feel like you're planting them so far apart and they look far apart, and then you get something like a These are yellow courgettes, by the way. A decent amount of rainfall. And all of a sudden they're all over on top of each other. But I can't plant them any further apart than this. It's a nice root system there. Away you go. I've forgotten my compost, bag of compost today. What I normally do is when I dig to plant, I kind of put a base of compost in the hole just to give them a little bit of a feed once they're in the ground immediately. But what I'll do is I'll come back and over fertilise above the ground and then give them another water so that fertiliser can sink in. So that's a job for the morning. To saying on this. Oh yeah, lovely. Now, unfortunately, you guys are sitting where I'm going to plant my next yellow courgette, which is right about here. So you're going to have to go, I think. I'm afraid. That right in front of you. However, you can come back. Ooh. When it's all done. What they say about single magpies? Just as I've planted them out. I actually switched my camera on because after spending all that time labelling and making sure I knew what was what in my greenhouse on my way here in the car. I'm looking at the magpie, sorry. A lot of the labels came out of pots while I was driving and bouncing around in the car. So actually, over here, and I tried to have a look, I think I've got, the magpie's scared off. Probably lots of worms because I've just taken the weed suppressant off. There'll be loads of worms and stuff in here. So anyway, so these I believe are pumpkin, but now looking at it, these are courgettes. So they've ended up together when they shouldn't necessarily have. And I did once read about this, and if you can see, I had to tell the difference when I didn't label as well as I should. But if you look at the leaves on squash, and this might be the other way around, by the way. If you look at the leaves on squash and pumpkins, they are more rounded. That lead leaf there, and then as opposed to courgette, could be the other way around. Again, they're more jagged leaves. That's how I've come to realise that I've planted courgettes and pumpkin in the same place. So that looks like a pumpkin. He looks like a courgette. He looks like a courgette, jagged leaves, if you can see. And he looks like a pumpkin. But in the words of Bobby McFerrin, don't worry, be happy, because this looks pretty awesome, what I'm looking at. So these guys in here that I'm going to plant now are courgettes. Don't worry. Be happy. Here's a little song I wrote. You might want to sing it note for note. Don't worry. Be happy. Tell you what, this is my happy face. So these are my yellow courgettes, but they're going to end up away from their mates next to some pumpkins. Be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, courgettes. Be happy, courgettes, next to the pumpkins. So it is the courgettes with the jagged leaves, and the pumpkin stroke squash with the more rounder leaves, if you ever get stuck with a bit of labelling, as I do pretty much every year. Something happens, so da, 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 da. Now, my next job, I can't be bothered because I've got a bad foot to pick the camera up and go somewhere else. My next job is going to be to go and grab some flowers to attract the pollinating bees and stuff, and I'm going to plant them in these. He's survived, look, you can tell by how pale he is, he's been covered up, but I'm going to plant them in these. This is how my plot is separated. I've said this before, I think. I'm going to plant the flowers in these, so they should attract the bees. So I'll do that next after what I tend to do, even though it hasn't rained, I chuck a bit of slug repellent down. And I use an organic one because obviously you've got to eat all of this stuff, but that's the best I can do. I know there's other ways of repelling slugs. I don't think any of them work. I've tried crushed eggshells and all of that sort of stuff. I haven't tried copper tape, if I'm honest with you, but the only thing that seems to actually work after rainfall is a nice organic slug repellent. So I'll sprinkle a bit of that on once I'm done here, and go and get my flowers, I think. It's so tempting to overdo it with this stuff because you're obviously protective of your plants that you've just spent all this time growing. Yeah, like kids, aren't they, your plants there? Except they don't grow up and start answering you back. But you spend all that time nurturing and growing them. You don't want them to disappear in a day, and that literally can happen. I've had it happen. A whole crop like this gone in a day because it's rained and they've not got out there quick enough. But that should do it. So that's the yellow courgettes and pumpkin, and over here I've got butternut squash and a different kind of pumpkin. Landlord said the rent is late, he might want to litigate. Don't worry. Do, 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 do. And you might see my plot layout video a few back. If not, I'll actually link it. I haven't done that before either. I never link video, and I never ask people to subscribe and like. Crikey, like and subscribe. I might link that because I didn't actually know what I was doing when I set these paving slabs out, if I'm honest with you. That's just the way that I've set my plot out, and it's actually, in terms of planting at the moment, it's worked pretty well. The only thing that I might do is put another slab here so that I can step out of the bed, because it's a bit of a reach to get out of the bed, so I might put one on the end so that I can step out, but they've actually worked pretty well. Which is excellent, seeing as I honestly had no idea what I was doing when I did these. Right, okay, I'm done for the day. I'm just going to get my flowers and I'll plant those tomorrow. I did actually see some nice ones in Lidl weeks ago, and if I'm honest, I was more interested in the pots that they came in, because they came in like these quite deep pots. So if they're still there, I'll grab a few of those, I think, from Lidl and bung them in the edges tomorrow.